All right. Can't forget the very important Monster Energy as we get into the podcast. And today we are answering a very important question that honestly I have answered before, but we are going to be answering it again because this is a question that no matter how many times I answer it, I keep getting it more. And that is, how important is strength and conditioning? So not just how important is it, but we're going to get into a little bit of the mindset. We're going to get into the mindset of a lot of the people that ask me this question. And we're going to get into the mindset change that you need in order to actually make the most of your training. Appreciate all of you guys as you tune in. Yes, absolutely. Monster Energy, very important to mixed martial arts. Very important to me too. It's been keeping them funded and it's been keeping me awake. Should you be lifting a week away from weigh-ins? Yes, usually my last lift that I'll do with athletes is like the Monday or the Tuesday, depending on if they're fighting the Friday or the Saturday. But you know what, guys? We're going to get right into the show and then plug Walk Senior. How do I maintain? I need to ask you about 17 different questions before I even know what you mean. But we are going to get right into the show. So think of more details for that question and drop it as we go. So guys, how important is strength and conditioning, and a little bit of the mindset of why people are continuing to ask that question, even though we hopefully know the answer by now. And we're going to go in 3, 2, 1. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the #1 show for athletes looking to gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. I'm your host, Kenny Dusseault, and today we are answering a very important question, and that is, how important is strength and conditioning? Now, the reason that we're answering this question today, because I have answered it multiple times on the show, is we're going to dig into it a little bit deeper, because short answer for you, strength and conditioning is crucial. Now, you're going to have a lot of people argue that, be like, oh, but what about your skills training? Oh, it's not as important as being a good fighter. And like, yeah, of course, if you're a good athlete, but you have no idea how to fight, you're still probably not going to win very many fights. But also, if you're a great fighter and you have no ability to push a high pace against strong opponents, no ability to put power behind your punches or kicks, no ability to grapple for a long time without getting out-muscled, that's going to be a big problem as well. And this is where the mindset gets twisted, and this is what I want to talk about. So much of the time when I talk about this, when I mention on like during videos or something like that, that strength and conditioning is a crucial part of succeeding in the sport, the first thing I have people say is usually, well, but it's more important to have good skills. And like, yeah, of course. So as an example, if you want to play hockey, it's very important to be able to shoot a puck, to be able to stick handle, to be able to body check, all of those things. But if you can't skate, you're still not making the NHL. And this is where a lot of people get twisted. When I say strength and conditioning is a crucial element of succeeding long-term as a fighter, I'm not saying that it's more important than your skills. I'm not saying to neglect your skills. I'm not saying to not train your skills and just train this instead. But what I am saying is that if you want to succeed at high levels, you need to continue to learn how to train outside of just the work you're doing in the MMA gym or in the boxing gym. And the reason that that's so true is because everybody understands the skill work. Everybody understands that if you are going to be a high-level fighter, you need high-level fighting skills. So solely working on your fighting skills is not separating you from the rest of the pack. Because if all you're doing is working on your skills and all everyone else is doing is working on your skills, you're doing exactly what everyone else is doing. And if you're doing exactly what everyone else is doing, you're not separating from the pack, you're just one of the pack. So if on top of training your skills, you're spending time actually building your strength, actually building your power, actually improving your ability to go fast and to push a pace for 3 to 5 rounds or however long you fight, you're going to start to separate from those people who just think it's skills training all day, every day. Now, the other important distinction to make is, guys, when I say strength and conditioning, I don't mean bodybuilding, because that's the other problem that I have a lot of people come to me with. They're like, well, you say that you have to be strength training, but I just feel like it makes me slow. And then I ask what they're doing, and they're doing a push-pull leg split. Now, why is push-pull legs not the way to train if you're training for a fight? Plain and simple, push-pull legs is designed as a bodybuilding split because you're putting more emphasis. And again, I don't know the full thing. I'm not a bodybuilder. I don't train bodybuilders, but you're putting more emphasis on specific muscle groups to help them grow. Strength training is not just about muscle growth, and it's not about exhausting one area or another. It's about building up the body as a whole to be able to keep to the energy demands that the sport requires. So when we talk about strength and conditioning, yes, if you go to the gym on Friday night and you blast the shit out of your legs with 60 different sets of leg exercises or whatever the hell bodybuilders are doing these days, and then you go spar on Saturday morning, you're going to feel slow. But that's not because weights are bad. That's not because strength and conditioning isn't something that you need to do. It means the strength and conditioning you're doing is incorrect. So it's not about eliminating the tool. It's about learning to use the tool more effectively. And it's the same thing with the runs and everything like that, because I will talk a lot on in my content, in my videos and everything, about how running is not the ultimate way to condition for combat sports. And immediately I have the fucking guys in my DMs or in my comments, oh, running's the ultimate way because, Floyd Mayweather goes for runs and Khabib goes for runs and all these other fighters go for runs. And I'm not telling you that running is going to be bad for your cardio. I'm not telling you that if you go for runs, you're going to magically not be a good athlete. What I'm telling you is there is a better way to get a better result faster. And this, in my mind, is what strength and conditioning is. It's not just working out. It's not just making your body sweat. It's not just, getting your muscles to be sore. It's actually learning to structure a training program that is designed to help you improve your abilities when it comes to the sport that you're competing in. And so going for these long 2-hour runs of crazy shit that I have seen fighters do so often, it's not that it's going to make your cardio worse. It's that you can get a way better cardio effect in way less time and allow your body more time to recover. And so the first piece that I need people to reframe in their minds when I talk about strength and conditioning being a crucial part of succeeding as a fighter is reframe what you believe strength and conditioning actually is. If you think that it's just blasting the shit out of your body and beating yourself into the ground and working so hard until you puke, that's not strength and conditioning. That's torture or just random shitty workouts for the sake of random shitty workouts. Strength and conditioning is designed to help complement your skills and your abilities as an athlete to help you execute your game plans at higher levels. Now, the next thing, when we talk about strength and conditioning being crucial to the success of fighters, again, we mentioned it already that this isn't me saying that you need to do it instead of your skills. This is not me saying don't train your skills. This is not me saying your skills aren't important, blah, blah, blah. Like, we've been over that, so hopefully there's nobody still thinking that. But what you need to learn to do, you need to learn to balance your strength and conditioning with your skill work. Like, one of the sayings that I use with my athletes all the time is if you're not able to do a skills session on the same day as our strength and conditioning session, you've gone too hard. So I'm going to say that one more time. If you're not able to do a skill session on the same day as your strength and conditioning session, you've gone too hard. Now, this doesn't mean that you're never going to feel sore. This doesn't mean that your body's never going to hurt. This doesn't mean that you're going to feel 100% all the time. But what it means is if you beat the shit out of your legs to the point that you can't, do your kickboxing session or your jiu-jitsu session or whatever it is that you're doing, supposed to be doing later that day, that means that that workout that destroyed your legs was not valuable to you because you weren't able to do your skill session. And when I talk about that, I have a lot of athletes tell me, oh, that bullshit, that's stupid, because like if you don't go super hard, then you're not getting gains. So first of all, no, that's not, like, training is not how hard can you go before you drop to get the most gains. Like, there's a point of diminishing returns where even though you're working hard, you're actually doing more damage to your body than you are actually helping it. But second, remember the goal of training. The goal of training is to succeed in the sport. So what's going to help you more? Taking down the intensity of your strength and conditioning session so you're still getting stronger, but you're not doing as much in that hour. And then being able to actually kickbox or do jujitsu or whatever it is you've got later that day or on that same day. Or going so hard every day in your strength and conditioning and your skills training, everything like that, every single day. Now, there are going to still be people who hear that and they say, well, going harder is better because if you go harder, then you're going to be a machine. But the thing is, if you go so hard and you're burning your body out, what starts to happen is you start to succumb to injury. You start to, have that nagging pain that just won't go away, or that mental fatigue that for days at a time feels like you're in a fog. And when all of those things start to build up more and more and more, then what happens is your body actually starts to get worse. Like, you're not able to throw punches as quickly, not because you're not stronger, but because your shoulders are burnt out. Your hips are burnt out. Your core isn't strong because it's been so overworked and over fatigued. So the key here is balance. The key here is learning how to balance the strength and conditioning work with the skill work to see the maximum output, or the maximum improvement, that you can get out of both. Because if your strength and conditioning is so hard that your skill work is suffering, that's a problem. But if you're doing so much skill work that you can't fit in 2 to 3 strength and conditioning sessions per week to help build your body up, that's also a problem. I'm going to use an example of an athlete that I worked with for quite a long time. And if he's listening to this, he probably knows who he is, but it's just a perfect example, so we're going to use it. I'm not going to name any names, but I worked with this guy for a couple of years, and basically what would happen is, before working with me, he never really did any strength and conditioning. And so as we started to work together, we started building strength, we started making some good improvements. He started feeling those when it came back to the sport. But then when this guy worked with me at my gym in Calgary, and then if I would go out of town, I'd message him like, hey, how did your session go? Because I have everything set up with my athletes so they can train at my gym even when I'm not there. And so I'd message him, hey, how'd your session go? And he'd message back, oh, I stayed and did more jiu-jitsu last night instead of going to strength and conditioning. And keep in mind, this guy's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, but his biggest issue was more on the strength side. And again, you know who you are. I'm not trying to throw any insults. This guy's a good dude, but just with this particular situation, didn't necessarily feel the value of the strength and conditioning as much as just doing more skill work. So he'd stay, do the extra jiu-jitsu session, and miss the strength sessions that he was supposed to be doing. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because if you already have very high level skills, purple belt, brown belt, black belt in jiu-jitsu, but you're not strong, so your body's physically not strong enough, as strong as a lot of people might be in your weight class, what do you think is going to be more beneficial? An extra jiu-jitsu session to just continue to do stuff that you're already quite good at, or spending concentrated time building up the physical structure of your body to be able to implement those jiu-jitsu skills at a higher level because you have the strength to implement them against higher level opponents? You get what I'm saying? Because with this particular case, this guy has very, very high level skills, but didn't have the athleticism, the strength, and the power to be able to execute those high level skills at the highest level that he could. But instead of taking the time to focus on building the body up, improving the size, strength, power, and everything like that, he was focusing more on just continuing to refine the skills. Now, again, when we're talking local scene against, competition that might not be as high, that might not matter. But where that really starts to matter is when you start to get into higher and higher level competition. Because yes, the skills are going to be paramount. If you don't have the skills, you're not going to succeed. But If you don't have the strength, your skills are going to carry you only so far. But by balancing both of them together, you're going to be able to get through higher level opponents because you're going to be able to implement those skills at a higher level. You're going to be able to inflict more damage with all the shots that you throw, and you're going to have more strength to lock up submissions, shoot takedowns, control people on the ground, everything like that, so you can balance the two together. All right, so guys, to sum it up, strength and conditioning is an absolutely crucial part of succeeding in combat sports long term. Now, that does not mean you have to do it as often as you do your skill work. You should absolutely be doing more skills training than you do strength and conditioning. And even when it comes to how often you should do it, there's not a perfect way for me to say, exactly this amount of times per week. But if you're in the 2 to 3 sessions per week range and you're consistent with that and they're properly structured to give you the most benefit possible, you're going to continue to see physical improvements. And as those physical improvements continue to come, you're going to see more and more and more of these improvements in your skill as well, because you're going to be able to implement those skills at higher levels. So guys, I hope that was valuable. I hope you got some good stuff out of it. If you did, I'd love to know what it is. Make sure to shoot me a message across any of my social media platforms. But for now, that is it. That is all. I appreciate you all for tuning in. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Instagram, I am going to stick around for a few minutes and answer